On this episode of The Blurb, a book that's like Die Hard meets Stephen King. Welcome to The Blurb. I'm your host, Glenn Porzik. Be sure to check out theblurb.tv for show notes and handy links. This episode is brought to you by Graphic Entertainment. Discover the supernatural thriller series Darkness Unbound at graphicentertainment.com/Darkness Unbound. Amazon bestselling author Tony Acree likes putting characters in situations they think they will never survive and find out if they're right. He lives near Louisville, Kentucky with his wife, twin daughters, 2 female dogs, a female cat, and says the way the goldfish looks at him, he's sure she's female too. I'd like to welcome author Tony Acree to The Blurb.
Hey Glenn, I want to thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. I've listened to several of the earlier Blurb video podcasts. I love the one, of course, with Rob Hoff and Stuart Thaman, since I'm associated with both of them. But I think this is a fantastic thing you're doing, and I'm very excited to be here.
I'm really glad to have you. I appreciate you coming on, and I think it's going to be a good show. So this is The Blurb, so we always jump right into it, and I'd like you to read the blurb from your book.
I will do that. This is from the Victor McCain collection, and it says, the Victor McCain collection features the first 3 novels in the best-selling Victor McCain thriller series, The Hand of God, The Watchers, and The Speaker. Readers love the heart-pounding action, incredible thrills, and the constant twists and turns of each novel. As an added bonus, the Victor McCain collection includes the #1 best-selling short story, Nightmare, available for the first time in print.
All right, cool. So we're talking about the collection today. Going back to just the first book, let's talk about the title a little bit. The first book is The Hand of God. Is that right?
The Hand of God, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. And
So, go ahead.
did you have a working title, or was that the title you came up with from the beginning, or
It was actually the title we came up from the beginning, and quite frankly, there was a lot of discussion when the novel was finished whether we wanted to keep that title or not, because we were kind of afraid people would see it and think it's a completely religious book, when in fact it's not. While it has religious undertones, it's definitely an adult action thriller. And I have had a couple people walk up and discuss the book going, it's good to see a man of God here. I'm so glad another. And I wanted to go, no. But having said that, the title is named after one of the characters in the book, God's Bounty Hunter, which is called The Hand of God. And we decided just to roll with it.
Okay, all right. And it's the Victor McCain series. Is that right?
That's correct.
Just
Yep.
okay. And we just saw the cover for the collection. You want to tell us a little bit about what goes into your covers?
Well, I use Carrie Clawwater. She's a cover artist out of Michigan, and quite frankly, I don't know how the Big Five have not snapped her up yet. She has a fantastic job doing covers, but it's great because I can pretty much go tell Carrie what I have interested in the cover, and she makes it happen. And for the collection, you've never seen either Victor and or Samantha Tyler, who's the main female character in a lot of the books, on a cover. And so we wanted to show them, but still give the reader the opportunity to fill in the blanks, which is why you see Victor and Samantha from the back. So that way the reader can still imagine what they view the 2 characters looking like. But this was a way for us to get the actual characters on the cover. Because in my other covers for both The Hand of God, the Watchers, and The Speaker, they deal with other elements of the story and not the main characters.
I had a similar thing. My individual books have the villain on the cover, and so when I did my collection, I finally put the hero on the cover. So I don't know where you're coming from.
I'm not saying it just because you're here, but that cover on your collection is fantastic.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you and I discussed that because that's a really cool looking cover.
So, what genre would you say this mainly falls under, or where would someone find it on the
My
shelf?
favorite version is paranormal crime noir. I guess you would title it more of a supernatural thriller, but one of USA Today bestselling writer read the book, and when she read it, she messaged me halfway through, said, "This is some of the best paranormal crime noir I've ever read." And I'm like, "Oh, kind of like that." So then I went back, because I'd never read noir books. So I went back and read some Dashiell Hammett, Mike Hammer, and those kind of books. And now I get the correlation between the two. And so supernatural thriller, but I prefer paranormal crime noir.
All right. Is this the only genre you write in, or are you writing any others?
I'm writing in a new genre. I'm writing in straight detective fiction. That's my newest series. The first book is called Jericho. I should have it out sometime later this spring, early summer. So generally I write in supernatural thrillers, but I actually prefer straight mystery thrillers.
Okay. All right. One of my favorite questions is the elevator pitch. If you were going to make an elevator pitch for this series, what would it be? What meets what?
Well, here's what I do. I always, for the series, when someone's meeting it for the first time, I always pitch the first book. And, you've been in this business for a while, and we say our elevator pitch so often we get so sick of it. But mine tends to work, so here's my elevator pitch. Bounty hunter Victor McCain finds out his only brother Mikey has sold his soul to the devil, and he's given 24 hours to find a certain girl who stole something, otherwise her brother goes straight to hell. So it's fast-paced, dark humor, high body count, and lots of action.
All right. Sold me. So what got the spark? What was the spark that got the ball rolling on this?
Believe it or not, it was two things. One was the song The Devil Went Down to Georgia. So I always thought Johnny was an idiot. If you know Satan is real, why would you risk your soul under any circumstances? And we were discussing one night, because the song was playing. And I said, well, maybe to save the soul of a loved one, that might be the only thing I could see me risking my soul for. And then right about that same time, a movie production company out in California was looking for stories about bounty hunters. And I went, well, how about, a bounty hunter who, and the opening line of the book is, it was 6 p.m. when the devil walked into my office and had a seat. And it just kind of starts from there. But it puts Victor, a character who's never really cared one way or the other about God, the devil, Satan, hell. He really could not care less. Now he's got to. And it's about what happens when he crosses the line trying to save his brother. And it kind of puts him in that very dramatic, you always want conflict. And losing your own soul is about as conflicted as you can get.
Now, you said that, you were a little inspired by a production company looking for something. Now, you've actually got some movement going on with this series as far as the Hollywood thing.
Right. We're very excited. The movie has been optioned for a major motion picture. And not only did I get to be involved, but because of the way it fell out, I got to write the screenplay along with Sarah Gardner, my screenwriting partner, and I got to be a part of the production company. So we go down in a couple weeks. The actor Keith David is already signed on to be in the movie. My producing partners, Brad Heiner and Mandy Fassett, are fabulous. We're going down in a couple of weekends to have our first script reading. Keith David's coming into town for it. And we're working on the financing angle now, which is always a big thing for any movie or any project. But we're now about ready to go. The script's been through about 10 rewrites. And for those of us who are authors, it's really a weird, different animal to go into writing screenplays. But Mandy and Brad have both been fantastic on their guidance. And no, it's a lot of fun. They're going to film it in Atlanta. There will be some exterior scenes filmed in Louisville because the story is set here in Louisville. But the primary part of the movie is going to be filmed in Atlanta.
That is awesome. That's awesome. So it's actually set in Louisville. So that's really neat.
Matter of fact, his main hangout is Monty Malone's in St. Matthews. And it's funny because when they get a new waitress or waiter, people will come in and say, hey, where does Victor set? And they're like, who? They're like, Victor McCain, the bounty hunter. They're like, who? But Molly's has been really great about it. And but it's mainly set in Louisville.
That's awesome. When you were doing research for the book, did you learn anything surprising?
I did, actually. That was because, when I was younger, I studied the Bible a lot, and I'd read it several times, but hadn't really read anything in forever. And when I was going through, I wanted to research every Bible verse where Satan was mentioned in any form whatsoever because I deal with the occult in the book, and I wanted to make it, as close to realistic as possible. And while doing the research, I found about the Watchers, which is book number 2. And so doing that kind of thing, that whole thing about the fallen angel and, how Lucifer pictured himself as the angel of light. But doing research for the book really led me into other storylines. So it was really kind of fun delving into both my childhood, but then again, these are adult thrillers. These aren't meant to be read in church. And so, but just finding things that I had either forgotten or just didn't remember. I mean, I didn't remember the Watchers from anything. So, so I got other book ideas doing it.
So avoiding too many spoilers, why don't you tell us a little bit about Victor McCain?
Victor McCain is 6'6". He's 280 pounds, picture an offensive lineman. He started out as a history major, got a degree in history from the University of Kentucky. His mother wanted him to go on and get his master's and become a teacher. Instead, he decided to join Special Forces, which he did as an officer. He was at ROTC in college. Plays in the sand for 5 or 6 years for Uncle Sam. He hates all the sand because sand gets into places it really shouldn't be. But he loved the adrenaline rush. So when he comes back, he decides to become a bounty hunter. He didn't consider being a police officer because he doesn't play well with others. He's one of those kind of anti-heroes who just does his own thing. So Victor, he's used to being the biggest, the smartest, the best looking. And it's a lot of fun to put him in situations that are beyond his control. Because if you take someone who's been a control freak pretty much most of his adult life, and now there are things he can't do by force of will or through physical force. And it's really a good bit of character development for Victor to go through that.
And you mentioned earlier on the cover of the collection, there's a female character as well. Would you tell us a little bit about her?
Samantha Tyler. She's every bit of a foil for Victor. She stands up to him. Samantha is the daughter of Cyrus Tyler. He is at the moment you meet him in the first book, he's a member of Congress. He's a right-wing firebrand. She spent most of her time in boarding schools growing up. She learned from an early age, starting at the age of 5, she participated in martial arts. So she's really learned how to fight, defend herself. She's very handy with a katana, which plays a big role in the books, and very wry sense of humor. So the great thing is, because Victor's a very strong-willed kind of character, well, she's every bit his equal. And she has become so popular that we've now given her own line of books. Vengeance was the very first book released in the Samantha Tyler series. So minor spoiler, Samantha's around for a while, but when you look at the books, you're going to find that out. So, but she's a really fun character to write.
Now, another of my favorite questions is dream casting. Who would you cast as these characters? Now, this is unusual asking you this because you're actually, in the process of, I'm sure, casting. So I don't know how you want to answer this.
Well, here's what I'll tell you what I can tell you. And again, I don't think it's any big secret because a lot of this is known. Keith David, there are 4 major characters besides Satan in the first book, which is what we're turning into the screenplay. There's Victor McCain, and people that I would love to see play him is everybody from Chris Evans to Josh Duhamel to Chris Hemsworth. That would be kind of my dream casting. And with any luck, we might be able to offer one of those 3 gentlemen the role. For Samantha, in my head when I wrote it, I don't know how many Castle fans we have out there, but when I wrote the book, Stanley Caddick was the person I had in mind as, that perfect, strong-willed, very tough character like she is in the show Castle. We're considering offering the role of Samantha to Stanley Caddick, which would be really weird for her to go from my brain to a book to a movie, because in Castle, he's a writer who follows her around, puts her in a book, they make a movie out of it, and it goes on. And then Winston Reynolds is the other bounty hunter that ends up throwing him with Victor. That's who Keith David is going to play in the movie. We've already been able to announce that. And then, of course, Mikey McCain, Victor's brother. We haven't really narrowed in on anybody, but Walton Scroggins, the guy that played in Justified. Mm-hmm. He plays a bad guy in Justified. Absolutely love him. I think he's a fantastic actor. If I could have anybody, it would be him, but we haven't really decided who we're going to cast that role to. Mm-hmm. But good thing is, with any luck, by the end of the spring, all those roles are going to be cast.
Wow. So that's right around the corner.
Yeah, we have to do a follow-up.
Yeah. So, what would be the soundtrack to your book? Either something you listen to while you write it, or a song that reminds you of your series? Is there
Well, one
anything?
of the things we do when I write, particularly depending on what scene I'm writing, I got a different playlist for everything. But we've actually started to work on, and again, we don't know that we'd actually use these in the movie, but of course, The Devil Went Down to Georgia has to be one. Flirting with Disaster by Molly Hatchet. I play that a lot when I'm writing Victor scenes. The Bruce Springsteen song, Devils and Dust. That's another big one. Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones. As you can see a theme here while I'm writing. And then another character you're going to meet in the movie that doesn't show up to book number 4 is his name is Tank Bone. He's the leader of a motorcycle gang. When I'm writing scenes that have Tank or the gang in it, I listen to the soundtrack from Sons of Anarchy. So whatever I'm writing, I try to listen to music that fits that. But the top would be Devil Went Down to Georgia and Flirting with Disaster by Molly Hatchet.
All right. Fans of what other series or author do you think would enjoy your series?
There's actually several, it kind of splits. Jim Butcher's Dresden series. I've had people tell me that they picture this being Dresden for Louisville for the fact that there is the supernatural, there's the occult, because of the humor and the fast pace. Jim Butcher does not know that he's one of my writing mentors, but he is. Because what I love about a Jim Butcher book is how fast paced they are. When you're reading a Dresden novel, you can never stop at the end of a chapter because it always ends with somebody got shot or this happened. So you've got to read 2 or 3 more pages at least to find out what happened. And that's the way I write my books. I don't want you to be able to have to stop, and I want you to keep reading. So Jim Butcher would be one. Of course, Stephen King would be another one because I tell people it's kind of like Die Hard meets Stephen King. And then, quite frankly, Dashiell Hammett, the old crime noir stuff. Mickey Spillane would be another one.
All right. Well, normally I ask next, who inspired or influenced you? It sounds like those are some inspirations as well.
The good thing is Jim Butcher has not filled out a restraining order, so I'm still pretty good to go with Jim. So we've almost met a couple of times. And in fact, this is just one quick aside. When we were finishing up the screenplay, we were on a kind of a tight deadline, and Jim Butcher was doing a talk and answer session in Lexington, Kentucky. I even had on my phone to beat me 2 hours early so I could drive. Well, it beat me the night we were finishing up the script, and Sarah said, "Go ahead and go. I'll finish it up." It's like, no, I'll stay. And by all accounts, I talked to people who were there. He did a fantastic job, answered questions for like an hour. So there's another one of those ships in the night. I kind of miss Mr. Butcher again, but I'll catch up to him sooner or later.
So I know from experience being an author, you need to write. I mean, you need to read to help your writing, but on the other hand, it's hard to find time to read because, if you've got time, then you should be writing. I know with all the movie stuff going on, I'm sure you're really busy. But is there anyone you're currently reading?
Right. The way I've gotten around that is audiobooks. I don't have time to actually sit down and read anymore. But when I do audiobooks, John Sanford, I love Lee Child. Matter of fact, if you're a fan of the Lee Child novels, you're really going to like the Jack Reacher novels. You're going to love Victor McCain. But John Sanford, Michael Connelly, and when I want to change the pace, I listen to Craig Johnson's Walt Longmire series. They're set out west. Lots of humor in his books, which you don't get in the TV series, which was good. But the humor in the books doesn't come across. But I'm currently listening to Western Star, the latest Walt Longmire novel now.
I love the Longmire series. I haven't read any of the books yet, but I do love.
You're going to love them. They're fabulous.
So I know you're a fan of Castle. You've brought that up. Any other shows you're binge watching or movies you recently enjoyed? Anything like that?
Well, I'm a diehard Marvel fan. When Fandom Fest was doing its thing in Louisville, they always had the Marvel versus DC. And I was always the moderator of that panel. And I'm an unabashed Marvel fan. Spider-Man, I'm a Spider-Man geek. So any of the Marvel movies, I'll go see the DC movies because, they're still good enough. But on TV, we're watching a lot of Elementary when it was still hot. The main problem is, again, just having time to watch TV because, as you mentioned, if I'm watching TV, I should be writing. But our current binge, my daughters are getting into Castle, and so we're halfway through season 5. I've been watching Castle with the girls. So, and it's funny because my girls one day said, Dad, you're just like Castle, except for you don't have the fancy car, you don't have the house in the Hamptons, and you don't sell as many books. And I went, and some people might go, but I went, they called me Castle. Which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. So, do you have any strange or unusual hobbies? As if writing was an unusual hobby, right?
Probably the closest for a while there, I was a semi-professional poker player. I also own a concierge service, and one of my clients wanted to back a card player, and she knew I was pretty good, so she staked me to $500, and she said, if you lose it, I don't care. After a year, whatever the profit is, we'll split it. And I got it up to about $2,000 playing. The problem with being a professional poker player, to do it right, you've got to play really late at night and to play till really early in the morning because you want all the amateurs to be rather liquored up. So you play from 10 p.m. to 4 in the morning. And when you've got twin girls, particularly who are in school, and you're the stay-at-home dad, that lifestyle, as much as I loved it, just really doesn't work. And then the writing took off. So probably the weirdest was the time for about a year. Matter of fact, online poker before they outlawed it, 3 years in a row, that's how I paid for Christmas, was by playing online poker.
Wow.
Please bring it back, United States government.
So you said you're a Marvel fan. Was there any particular Marvel series or books you read as a kid or anything that you think may have sparked your interest in writing?
Spider-Man, man. All Spider-Man. Spider-Man all the time. Any character I would read, like an X-Men or an Iron Man, if Spider-Man showed up, I was an unabashed Spider-Man geek. So, it's funny because you have seen me at Imaginarium. I have an alter ego, AARP Batman, that I come out as. And that was funny because we do a lot of these conventions, and Greg and I see each other at all these conventions. And one year, some of my friends said, as often as you're there, why don't you dress up in costume? I'm like, because I'm not a small man. What would I be, AARP Batman? And then that year at Imaginarium, I went ahead and broke him out. And he has been quite popular, almost more popular than me. In fact, if it's not for the George Lucas comments I get, AARP Batman would be number 2.
So if you had one piece of advice for an aspiring author, what would it be?
I'm going to give you 3 tips. The first one is to write every day. You have to write every day. The second tip is to write every day. You have to write every day, and it's going to be a real surprise. Tip number 3 is to write every day. It's often, because I'm also the owner of Hydra Publications, a small press, it's amazing how many people I speak to about writing who have these great ideas. They spend an hour telling me the whole plot, and I'll say, well, how many pages have you written? How many words have you written? Oh, I haven't written anything yet. Well, until you actually start writing, you're not a writer, you're an idea person. So, but the main thing is, it's like any other skill set. If you don't do it, you just can't get good at it. So you really need to write every day.
All right. And if readers enjoy the Victor McCain's collection, what other work of yours would you recommend?
Revenge is book number 4 in the series. That's not included in the collection. That kind of gets us up to date with the Victor McCain series. And then also Vengeance, the first Samantha Tyler novel, which was co-written with Rachel Rawlings, a really fabulous writer here in the Louisville area. She wrote the main part of the book. I helped out with writing most of the action scenes. And then again later, actually the very next thing I'll have out is a book of humor. I really loved Irma Bombeck's If Life's a Bowl of Cherries, What Am I Doing in the Pits, when I was a kid. It was just stories about things that she ran into when she was younger. And I have a fun time dealing with Facebook and Instagram scammers. And so, I leave them on. Of course, I always post those on Facebook, and they become so popular. We're going to release a book of my scammer conversations with my twins, and conversations with store clerks. So it's kind of my homage to Irma Bombeck.
All right. Now you've got your books available in print as ebook, and you also have audiobooks, right?
I do. Of all the 4 main Victor McCain books and Samantha Tyler, they're all available in audiobooks on Audible, iTunes, anywhere fine books are sold.
Okay. And what would be the best website for people to find you?
TonyAcree.com. And if you want to sprint out to see the other related, HydraPublications.com is the main publisher website. But TonyAcree.com has links to all the books and different interviews, and just so it's TonyAcree, 2E's.com.
All right. So how has being a publisher impacted your writing?
It's very detrimental to my writing. And because the good thing is I work with a lot of really talented writers, and the publishing house when I bought it 4 years ago, I guess going on 5 years ago now, has really taken off, and I really enjoy that work. But it has been so involved that I've had people help me over the years, both Sarah Gardner and Stuart Thaman, and now Dave Creek is lynching in, and my wife Corinne and my girls are now taking part. So it really makes it hard to find time to write. And recently I've rededicated myself, because that tip I gave you about writing every day, haven't been doing it because we've been so busy. But we're getting close to getting all our projects caught up. And matter of fact, later on tonight, I'm going to go writing. So I need to get my detective novel finished. And then I'm also writing, fans of Victor McCain will enjoy, I'm doing a crossover novel with Lynn Tincher. She writes the Mind-Bending series, which also takes place in Louisville, Kentucky. And her main character, Paige Aldridge, and I and Victor McCain are doing a crossover novel.
All right, that's awesome. I'm hoping to have her on the show here soon.
You want to talk about talented? And Afterthoughts, her short film, just got picked up for the Pasadena Film Festival. That's really cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming on, and I'd love to have a follow up sometime whenever you want to announce more about the movie or anything else you've got going on. You've got a lot of good books out there, and you've got a lot of talented authors that you work with as well, and it's been nice seeing you guys at some of the shows. So.
Well, again, we always look for, first thing, where's Glenn? Where's Glenn? There's always a handful of people we look for when we go to these shows. And that's the great thing about this community. If you're interested in writing, you're listening to the Blurb, particularly the Louisville-Cincinnati election and that triangle, there are a lot of great publishers, writers, and Owens, particularly when I started, everybody is so generous with their time and their advice and just the camaraderie. It's a really great writing community here in this area. And with Imaginarium, which takes place in October in Louisville, that's a great place to meet a lot of people. But if you're a writer, this is a great time to be a writer in Louisville.
I definitely agree. All right. Well, hopefully I'll see you again soon, and we'll do this again.
Thanks for having me, Glenn.
I'd like to thank author Tony Acree for being our guest, and I'd like to thank you for joining us. Be sure to visit theblurb.tv for all the links mentioned in this episode. And if you enjoyed the program, be sure to share this with your friends, and remember to hit like and subscribe so that you never miss an episode. You can follow us on YouTube, Twitter, and iTunes. You can support the show by visiting our sponsors, buying our merch, or shopping our affiliate links. As always, thank you for your support, and I'll see you next week with an all-new episode.